What's up, everybody? It's your boy Coach Rhodes, our man Coach Bird.
What's up?
Hey, and for the second week in a row, we got a special guest with us today. I want to introduce Coach Jeremy Joyner.
How y'all doing?
It's good to have you, man.
Yes, I appreciate you being here.
Coach Joyner is currently at East Duplin High School. He spent time as a head coach at South Lenore High School there in Deep Run. Prior to that, Coach was at Princeton. He's originally from Southern Wayne.
Yep, that's
I
right.
think you got your start there. Is that right?
That's right. I did started there for 5 years, then went to Princeton for 3, South Lenore 5, and I've been at East Duplin for now. This is my 4th year.
Yeah. So, Coach is just a diehard high school sports person, honestly. And today we're going to primarily focus on the discussion around the realignment process. The state of North Carolina, for those of you who aren't from North Carolina, we're going through a new process. We're increasing the number of classifications we have in our high school system from 4. Currently it's at 8. And I'll let Coach give a little more detail about the new rule because that number could actually change. And then we'll just talk about a couple different things, some concerns with the process, some thoughts maybe the next time around, Coach, and just pick your brain.
Pick your brain a little bit. Sure. Pick your brain a little bit.
So, but again, appreciate you being here, man. So I guess the first thing, Coach, the new like setup is based off a total number of teams, correct?
That's correct.
Right, and so the cap is
64.
Okay. So 64 is the cap on that, and so anytime there's more than 64 in a classification, we'll add a new one.
That's
is that right?
exactly right. Yes, sir.
But it's a ways off right now, right?
Yes, I think most of your classifications now going into next school year somewhere around 57, 58 numbers. So we still got 5 or 6, 7, schools to be added per class when we start to go to that 9th classification.
Right. And then too, on top of the highest classification, there's only is there 30?
There's 32. It's a big 32 system. So the largest 32 schools in the state are in the 8A, and then it goes evenly down from 7A to 1A.
Yeah. So that's totally different from what we're used to. And right before we came on, Coach Bird asked about the split classifications. And early on, I think a lot of people were excited about this concept of adding. Obviously, we needed to do something.
Yes.
Our numbers were skewed tremendously in this state when you're looking at the bottom half of a class and going to the top. But in North Carolina for a long time, we had 4 classifications, but come playoff time for football, it was split. Was that that's the only sport, right?
Yeah, it was for a long time, back when me and you were playing high school football, it was split. You had Big A and Little A, and then eventually a lot of the schools got a hold of that. I think they changed it, went back to 1 champion per classification, then a split, and I think that started in, after COVID, 21, 22. I think it might be 22. The year we won East Duplin was the first year of the 1 champion per classification.
Per class. But it was only done in football.
Yeah, that's right. Yeah, the only split was in football. It didn't happen in basketball, baseball, or any of the other sports.
Did you like that? You like it the way it used to be, or you gonna kind of tend to like it what it's gonna be?
Well, I think what I didn't like about it the old way is you never knew from year to year if you were going to be a Big A or Little A. Now, some schools were set. North Duplin, I were generally always going to be a small 1A school. But some schools were on the border. The bowl might go big, might go little. And that was all based off who made the playoffs, not, where your ADM fell, you're automatically big or you're automatically small.
Right. And I think I coached against him when I was at Hoffman. We would what kind of bothered us a little bit. We were always going to be small 1A, but we were going to be stuck in the West.
That's exactly.
And like North Duplin was saying, man, I think it kind of hurt us a lot having to travel out west. I mean, we were number 1 seed a couple times, but still, the championships usually ran through the West, and I think that was a big concern why we couldn't stay in the East and stuff like that.
Yeah. Right, because I think it was based off what teams got in. He drew you the line, if 32 total, the most 16 Western teams went West, the most 16 Eastern teams went East, and hopped in North Duplin, bless your hearts. First round game, you're going all the way to Cherokee or going all the way to Robinsonville. I mean, that ain't good.
It was, and I'll tell you, as a player, it was unique because I'll never forget my junior year. Honestly, looking back at it, we felt like if we'd have been in the East, and kind of touching on what Coach Bird said, we felt like if we had been in the East, we'd have had a good shot at making it to the state championship game that year. Eventually we ran into Elkin in the West, and they knocked us out. But the cool part about that, even though I know financially it'll put a strain, and it's even worse now than it was back then, I'm sure. But we got my junior year Thanksgiving week, we played at Cherokee. And it was like a college trip.
Yeah.
I mean, we practiced in the morning, had our walkthroughs. We went back, had Thanksgiving lunch with our families. We boarded the bus around like 1 o'clock maybe, and then we spent the night. So that part was cool, but also very challenging, I'm sure. And you saw it more as a coach.
Yeah,
that's difficult.
I think 2010 we played for the West Championship, and it was against Murphy. So that's as far as you can get. But we got to practice in Tuscola. We left a day or two early, and I got to meet Coach Jen. I probably would have never met Coach Jen been handed me for that.
Right.
So I mean,
so it provided some stuff. But I think back to the point of you never knew when you were coming back. And during that time, Coach, when you made the playoffs, was it based off of that specific year's ADMs?
Yes, what they did, they took your 20-day ADM, and that was the number that they used whenever they went to the split classifications. That was your ADM. All right, these are the 32 teams that made the state playoffs. All right, these 16, all right, you're big. These 16, you're little. East, west, and so forth and so on.
But the cycle in terms of what classification you were put in, 1, 2, 3, or 4, that was only done every 4 years.
That's only done every 4 years, and currently that's still the way it is now. Now there is some discussions, which I think will be fantastic, to do it every 2 years. Now with so much building and schools changing and charter schools ADMs change rather drastically in a 4-year period. If you do it every 2 years, you might can catch it before it gets too far out of hand. A school being too big to be in 2A or too small to be in 3A, for example.
Right.
And I know you mentioned the charter schools and stuff. And it doesn't affect high school football as much as it does the other sports. What's your intake on, like, the charter schools really hurt your basketball and your baseball? I mean, you think they should have...
Well, and you can take a step further, track.
Yeah.
Track, they
dominate all that stuff.
Tennis, golf.
Hang on, because it's coming to football.
Yeah.
I think the state, and I don't have a problem saying it, we've taken too long to address the charter issue. You're looking at football charters now, and I'm going to use Wilson Prep for example. They have been pretty solid in football. They lost to Tarboro in the Eastern Finals. They got less than 200 students. They're a prep school. UWarry Charter, if y'all know anything about them, they're from the Albemarle area. They've won wrestling. They've won baseball. And now in 26, they're going to start a football program, being a prep school. And I think,
they're going to figure it out.
They're figuring out, and I think a lot of parents are a lot of bad things going on with public education now, wanting to send their kids to a charter school. And now they can play sports, and football now being a part of it. That's a big thing that the state needs to address, because it's a different set of rules.
It is, because they can, and they can play more games. In the basketball, they can play up to 30 games.
That's exactly right. If they don't have football, they can play. That's exactly right.
Yeah, and I think that's interesting too. And we certainly don't. I mean, I promise you, all of us have our opinions, and we, if the time's right, we're not trying to really cause that stir. And I hear what Coach is saying about the charters. Are you for it or are you not? Everybody's entitled to what they like. I do agree with Coach Bird and Coach Joyner just agreed in terms of playing through a different set of rules.
Yeah.
At least, in terms of enrollment and where your kids come from. And everybody has a little different. And I've heard the flip side of that. People say, well, a county with open enrollment has some similar pieces to that. But there's still differences. And I'll tell you, you're right, it's coming. I mean, Wilson Prep's done a good job the past few years in football. There's 2 or 3 schools out west. Mountain Island Charter for a long time. Like one year, man, they had like 10 Division I players on their team.
Oh, yeah.
Caught a bad break in the playoffs that year, I think. Thomas Jefferson Academy out west has had some really good runs. I don't know how to properly say it. Caribbean Community, the team that made it.
Caribbean, Corvon, however you say it. Charlotte lost to Tarboro in the championship.
I mean, you start pulling a charter program from the Charlotte area. I mean, good Lord.
75-mile radius, 50-mile radius, 75-mile radius.
I think it's 25 miles from the center of school that you can go around in any direction. But you go into Charlotte, you look at how many youngins and athletes are in the Charlotte area, and you go to that one school.
You figure if you put it right here in Duplin County, 25 miles.
I love that. And I've told my buddy, let's do it. Well, hey, while we're on it, and I've printed out a couple things here, because the newest draft just came out. It's the 3rd draft. Most of the time, that's the final draft. I wanted to hit this one, because this one stood out to me. First of all, I will give the committee a compliment. I think they tried to group the charter schools together.
They did.
Very much so. A lot different than what we've seen in the past. North Duplin has had a charter school in their conference for the past 2 or 3 alignments. and with no problems with that school. I mean, Noose has been a good conference opponent, but here's one that stood out to me. This is from the 2A group. Okay, it's a 1A, 2A, 3A conference, and I won't be very specific about this, but there's one 2A school in there that this applies to, and there's two 1A schools. And it says here, Mountain Island Charter is a 2A school for football only in that conference. Bonnie Cone is a football only school that's a 1A school in that conference. And then Thomas Jefferson says 1A and it says football only. I think that's the first time I've ever seen that. Do you know anything about that?
I think there was this past, not the one ran now. There were some in the Piedmont area, just in the 1A. I think they were like Chatham Charter or Chatham Central's conference. There were some that were just football only because they were so spread out that they actually made them football only. They combined basically two conferences and made like a football only, basically taking some of this, some and their football only together. But then they play in their other conference in the other sports, I believe.
Well, and that makes sense. And if we're going to talk about making sense, this is one thing that I've had a problem with from the beginning. Is there's some schools in the 1A classification that have less than 100 kids. There's some schools in our association that have less than 50 kids. And while I'm all for those schools having opportunities to play, they're not going to field so many athletic teams.
That's right.
So my thought process is, if we've got it, and I understand what you're saying, it's slightly different than where I'm going to go with it, but we talked about this new rule. It counts up to 64, right? And then after 64, it goes to the next class, and so on and so forth. When you throw schools in there with 50 kids or less, that skews the number.
It does. Tremendously.
That skews the number. And I've just always wondered, why not? I like this rule. I like the concept of this, and I think that the good part is we're going to be able to work through it. But why not say, hey, look, let's group, I don't know what the word I'm looking for, but a school that's going to bring in, multiple sports. Let's group them first. If you only offer, say, 2 or 3 sports, you only have 50-some kids. Why not pull them groups out for the overall piece here? Right. Because let's be honest, the numbers game, it affects all sports. I'm not going to take away from it. But football is a big deal. Basketball in this state's a big deal. Two different things. It takes 5 kids to play basketball. It takes 11 to play football at one time. Same thing for soccer. Soccer's becoming more and more popular in this state. So why not pull them out? Has anybody had any discussions about that? I mean, you have a group of people that know this kind of stuff.
I think a lot of people have opinions on it. Just my opinion. You got some sports schools that play football, some don't. I think of the 400, and I'm ballparking around 40 high schools in this state. I think about 380 play football. There's probably 60 to 70 that don't, ballparkish. And I think football is what most athletic budgets are dependent upon. It's football dollars. So I believe, and I'd love to see it on paper, but an idea I have is to make football only conferences, and then everything else, across the state, especially in rural, Eastern North Carolina. A lot of people, they fuss about travel. Why do you fuss about, Tuesday night for a basketball night or a volleyball night is a lot different than going Friday night and driving an hour and a half for football. Most people will accept that and do that. It's just the non-revenue sports or the weekday sports. Why not put football together? Let's make conferences for football and then make conferences everywhere else. And generally, you probably won't have as much discrepancy and someone being in this conference as long as it ain't got to do with football.
Yeah, right. So that makes sense. And that's kind of what I was kind of getting to. And I hope that maybe once we get through this process, the next go around, and I certainly hope what you brought up earlier about a 2-year deal will be changed. And then I hope the next time around we can do that. I mean, some states they don't even they don't have conferences, right? They do some states do like a district.
They do like a district format. I'm not quite as familiar with that as much as I am to conferences, but I know different states do a district model and play in any advance to the playoffs. And I know some states play less games, but everybody makes the playoffs. And then it condenses down. So everybody makes it. So for us, we play 10 regular season games going to the playoffs. I think their model, using how many games we play, would be play 9 games, and then your 10th game is your first round of your playoffs. And then you divide down, win, advance, lose, you're done.
Yeah. that would be kind of neat.
It'd be interesting to look at. Yeah, I mean, everybody gets in a little bite and see, get a part of it.
Well, and I think there again it goes back, like Coach Bird, he's coached football for a long time. He's got out of it late here in his career, and he's coached basketball for a long time too, and that's primarily what he does now. He'll tell you this: basketball and football is different, right, Coach?
Yeah.
I mean, it's different. So you kind of got to approach it different, wouldn't you say? Yeah. I mean, right now he's getting ready to go into the playoffs, and I think these conferences could adjust him too. I mean, he will be impacted if he sticks around another year or two about what you just spoke on. I mean, our new conference, I think some of our trips, Coach, will be what, an hour and a half one way?
100 miles. West Columbus, East Columbus. And that's what Steve was talking about. It ain't bad. Fridays nights are not bad.
That's right.
But like on a Tuesday and Wednesday, you got to get some kids out at 1 o'clock, 1:30 to go to
play a JV
game.
Well,
that's tough.
And you as a teacher got to get home, take care of what you got to take, and then you got to be at school next morning.
Because they ain't getting home before 11, 12 o'clock.
That's exactly right.
They just think.
Well, we knock on the door 11:30 sometimes now. Well, how about this? I mean, we're in the middle of it right now. We had a snow week, right?
Yep.
Now we're going through a little ice spell here, so we've missed some time with that. How many weeks have y'all played 3 games, Coach?
3 in a row.
3 weeks in a row, he's had 3 games.
That's tough.
So think about that. Fast forward in a year or two and apply what you just talked about.
Yep.
We are a rural area school. We're the smallest school in our county. So, and finding schools that match us was obviously difficult. That's why we're in that league where we're going to travel. Think about that. 3 games in a week, and 2 of them is, you get home at midnight.
That's tough.
And, we talk about stuff like that. It's a deal, and I say that's why this committee, and I want to pick your brain on that too, has had a hard job, and I commend them for their efforts. It's easy for me to see the piece of paper and say, "Oh, why didn't you do this or why didn't you do that?"
You think they got it right this time?
I think it's close as it can be. In the 3 drafts, the first draft there was a lot of people who really were not happy with it, and in the second draft, there was not many changes. But then this 3rd draft, I really think they took to account the schools that went and appealed in Chapel Hill and explained their case. And I think the committee did a great job across the board of fixing the issues that schools want to fix. Now, is everybody perfectly happy? No. But I think everybody got, something they can probably hang their hat on. Hey, we got a good competitive league, or our distance, our travel ain't that bad. I think they've really done a good job with this model. I'm pleased with it.
And I know it's football. That's where they make the money, right?
Sure.
And it's going to hurt, like our conference, it's going to hurt a little bit because West Columbus, they're not bringing anybody to their games on Tuesday night. I mean, financially it may put a burden, but the big thing, the financial thing is the football. Sure. That's where where you make the money. Basketball kind of pays for itself, but stuff like your soccer and your volleyball, that's going to struggle.
That's where I think you need to be more geographically based because those fans are not going to come as much to watch a basketball game, and maybe basketball, definitely not volleyball or soccer. So whenever some schools are paying $1 or $2 a mile to drive there and drive back, you're losing money. Where football, people ain't going to really complain to take that Friday. Hey, it's a little adventure, a little family night. Hey, let's go get a bite to eat. Watch Norfolk play football at West Columbus, and have a night together. So I don't think it's that bad.
And now they broadcast stuff and that kind of, that's a great thing. I like it.
Well, that'll help some of your older fans that don't want to make some of these trips, and maybe even some that's got something going on and can't make it. Gives them a chance, One thing that I wanted to ask, or what I add to what Coach Joyner said about the committee doing a good job this time, we have a school that was has been in our league for years, and that's one of the things I don't like about this is some of the old traditional conferences have really been dissolved. But we had a school, I think he told me just one way, it was 5, if he went to every school in our conference, the way it was after draft 1 and 2, they would have traveled over 500 miles just one way. So you're looking over 1,000 miles there and back, for one round through the conference.
Right.
Basketball is going to do that, baseball is going to do that,
sure.
Volleyball, etc. And I just remember him talking about their AD went, and I think maybe their principal went, and I don't know if they were the only 2 or somebody from the county went with them. But I will say, and I want to give a shout out to the committee, it sounds like they felt like they were very much heard. And while they were presenting and talking about stuff, there was people with computers open and looking stuff up, making notes. you know, and what little bit of feedback they were getting. Obviously, it was a thing where they were trying to get multiple people
It
done.
destroyed
They
him
felt like-
financially.
It was
destroyed
ruining
him.
No doubt.
And the coach also told me, you know, what you hit on, you know, some of their non-revenue sports that are going to be on those late nights. Like they just said, hey, listen, we may have a really hard time fielding these coaching roles.
That's right.
And because several of those sports are academic teachers, and I say academic meaning they're in the classroom, you know, PE teachers, weightlifting teachers, you know, we can kind of get things going and take a step back, but when you got to have a lesson presented and ready to go the next day, it's going to be hard on them.
Yeah, I mean,
And they got out, by the way. They were able, and I hated to see it because we've competed a long time. We're going to continue to play them, but as a conference though, they got out. So I commend the committee on listening to them and taking it to heart, like Coach said, to help them.
you know, that Rosewood, we're just going to, they've been probably one of the charter members of the Carolina One. I mean, they go back probably all the way to the 80s.
We played when I was in high school.
So, man, you got a school that's been a part of the Carolina 1A, which has been the name of this conference for years and years and years. Some schools have gone, some schools have stayed, but generally North Duke,
Rosewood,
Hopton, Rosewood, for the most part, have been a part of that league for forever. And, you know, they looked at it, you know, sure, they probably love to keep some of the same, but they got to think of what's better for their school and their athletic budgets, you know, and keeping athletics going, because if you ain't got coaches, you ain't got kids coming out, it's just going to be a steady decline, and it's going to be a problem going forward. But commend them, they actually are playing up, you know, because they're going to be the only two-way in an all 3A league. But they felt like it was best for them, and I think it is. And they're very pleased with what they got, so hopefully for them it works out.
Are there going to be a lot of those, like there's like 1-2A team in here, they got to meet certain standards to make the playoffs?
I actually called.
Because I saw if you were just a 1A team or 2A team, and you won between y'all two, you automatically berth. But you kind of said that's kind of
how it works. If you're the only, I'm going to use it for you right now, and I think the rule could be changing going forward. But how it reads in the handbook, if you're the only school of your classification in a conference, so you're the only 2A in a 3A conference, you know, you've got to be finish first or second to be seated as a 1 and finish 500 or better, and or one or the other. So if you finish 500 or better overall, you get seated as a 1. If you finish first or second overall, you get seated as a 1. So like we were talking about one school in basketball, but they finished below 500 overall. They finished, I think, 4th or 5th. They'll get into the playoffs, but they will not be seated as the 1s, because all the 1s have to do playoffs now and get seated first, and everybody, all the at-large, get put in based off the RPI ranking.
Wow,
I didn't know that.
Yeah, because you know there will be the only 1, and then in our league we'll have a. Now we can move this, Coach. I put myself in the same spot.
Good.
So I feel our league is similar because we're going to have 1A school in our 2A league. So everybody else will be a 2A school. And so I was curious about that, and there was a similar situation, I can say, in football where I reached out to you, or it might have been last year in basketball, I can't remember, but that's why we brought Coach on, man. He's the go-to. Coach got these rules.
How you and Coach Battle like y'all's conference?
We
y'all like it, don't be saying y'all like it.
I'll be honest, what we had, we really like, because our fan base really loves traveling to Onslow County. That's really basically 24 the whole way up.
Yeah.
You know, we would have had Havelock.
They got out. Havelock has got out.
Yeah, well, we actually, that conference stayed, us and Southwest Onslow are out. The rest of the 6 stayed together.
Okay.
We liked being in an 8-team league. Hey, our non-conference was set. We had Wallace, Clinton, and James Kent, who were probably our 3 biggest rivalries.
And that's Gates.
That was Gates, you know, 1, 2, and 3 in non-conference, and Southwest. Those 4 have been generally the 4, you know, you go back in East Central type schools. But when they threw this, we were completely unexpected. Didn't see it coming. We knew that a school, Swansboro, was trying to get into that league to make it 9, but we did not have any idea we were going to be the ones out. Swansboro didn't get in, but they just took us out because I think who we got put in was Pender, Trask, Clinton, and South North. All of them wanted to be in a different league than what they got for different reasons. And I think they looked on the map at them 4, hey, who can we add them to? And they just put us in Southwest because it fits geographically. I mean,
y'all's travel's good.
Travel's good.
Just like I told James Keenan. Where's the funnest game they got to go to? Princeton. I mean, that's travel's good.
Yeah, James Keenan's a great league.
That's travel.
So we're just trying to find non-conference games now, but overall I think we're pleased with it.
So you're in a 16?
We're in a 16 leagues now. We got to pick up 5 non-conference games, and we need a week 2 right now, everything
I'm gonna call battle. I'm gonna hook up with Brad. We gonna get y'all.
Well, come on, we love to get, let's go. We make it work.
Yeah, let's go. Hey, split the gate stuff or whatever you gotta do.
I hear you, Coach.
Whatever, don't bother me.
I don't reckon it does.
I'm gonna go either way. And I like both sides of the coaches, so I mean.
Yeah.
Is that why we didn't play basketball with y'all the first game? Because y'all come out of the playoffs, we're supposed to play y'all basketball, and you said no, not this
Well,
time.
I can't. I mean, we played y'all in 3 days practice.
Oh.
Hey, you see what happened to us? We were 0-7 and had 4 practice, and now we won 11 out of 13.
Y'all got right.
Playing with
You played 7, so what Coach talking about, we had a nice little run in the playoffs. Coach got
4
down.
practices.
We played 7 games on 4 practices total.
Yeah.
So, but yeah, he's
Yeah.
Coach Bird's a trick.
And I'll say from the outside looking in, I'm not saying because I'm here, but I know Jeff Coach Bird does a great job getting the most out of his kids. I mean, I saw them at the beginning of the year. and from where they're at now, playing for a conference champion, you've done a great job. You've done a great job.
Let's talk about playing stuff. I know you're a big golf man. You're a golf man.
Yes,
I know you are, and you're won numerous little county championship, tournament championship. What you think? And I know a lot of my other buddies and your buddies play golf. Okay, so let's just throw a name out there. Let's go. Steve Sandeman and Ken Avian. How about that?
God.
Where do you rank amongst them? Are you number 1, 2, or 3? Be honest with you. I mean, if you're if I'm better than Ken, I'm gonna tell you.
Right now, I mean, Ken and I, we've gone back and forth over our careers playing. There's sometimes he's on top, sometimes I'm on top.
Are you better? That's what I want. I don't care what y'all 500 record.
What do you care with?
Oh, well, here's the. If I go out there and shoot basketball right now, I'm better than Ken. I'll tell you right now. I'll just tell you what it is.
Challenge.
I'll just tell you what it is. If you're a better golfer, say it.
I would say right now I'd probably beat him by just a little bit.
I know you're a good golfer. I know you are.
It'd be a battle.
I got an idea.
What?
I got an idea. We'll draw names.
Let me just.
No. Yeah. We'll draw names because this will tell us who's the best golfer. We'll draw names. Coach Joyner will get one of us.
And Ken will
get the other one.
Now that would be a.
Hey, that'll be a fun.
You know me and Ken, we grew up together on the Bledsoe State Championship, so we got that gorilla. We can
That's why we'll draw. So you just want to call Ken as your teammate and let's ride?
Yeah.
Hey, Coach, I'm good at put.
Let's go. We can make it work.
Any sport. Basketball.
You brought up golf. We ain't talking about basketball. I know y'all state champions.
I'll do the golf. I used to play golf before. I ain't played in a while.
I think that'd
be fun.
Hey, never know. They might have us a little par 3 tournament.
Yeah, we
can let people bet. Hey, put the prop bets out. It don't matter to me. We just dig here and there.
That'd be fun. Unscripted on the golf course. Take a road trip. Let's go.
And it'd be a duck contest. I got mad and got the cussing a little bit on there. I don't know nobody be.
Coach Pock had to get his money worth out of that video. There'd be a lot of censorship going on there. Beep, beep, beep. Sound like a rap song from like the 90s, before they could cuss on the radio.
Yeah, that's
right. Like every other word was beep.
Probably,
well, man, we appreciate your time, Coach. It's been an interesting little deal. Before we get off of that and we get out of here, I will ask one more thing. If you had the power to fix or change one, or it could be 2, to fit your mold here, what's like 1 or 2 key things that you would like to see done differently now going through it? Not judgmentally, but just it was new to everybody. So now that we've seen the process unfold, what's 1 or 2 things you think could be done to be a little bit more efficient maybe?
Or on the realignment process?
Yeah, on the realignment process.
I think it's taken too long. I think that's one thing. It's too long from the stand. I think they've put some thought into it, but over a period of time, it took months to get. I think it could be done a little bit less time. And the timetable, the first draft come out right before Christmas break. Yeah. And me personally, I think that's almost intentional because people go home for Christmas break and do all those things. And then you come back in January, some counties are getting ready for exams. So you really have time to deliberate. And then it comes out, the second draft, you got about a week to really sit there and figure it out, and you got to go to Chapel Hill. So I think the time it takes from, when the ADMs were finalized in, I think, 1st of November until March is when it's going to be finalized. So you're looking at a 5-month. I don't think it should quite take as long.
Don't hurt your scheduling too.
Yeah, it does. I mean, it is tough, Because now nobody knows how the playoffs are going to look, and that would be the second thing I feel. Right now, nobody knows how the playoffs are going to look because I think there's a lot of potential changes could be coming. I think could be some
They could be shorter.
Games could be reduced. I think y'all play 24 to max. Y'all can play. I've heard it could be 22.
I've heard that.
That could be changed. I don't think they're going to touch football.
You don't think they mess with
I
football?
don't think so, but I think like baseball, basketball, they might roost into 22. How are they going to do all the splits? Because now you got something new instead of 2 classes in a conference.
yeah.
There are some that are 3-class conferences.
Yeah.
So whenever you're doing your non-conference scheduling and you're factoring RPI formula, which that's also we had a survey on that not too long ago about how we want to change the formula on that. So not knowing what the RPI formula is, not knowing how the playoffs are going to look, I think if we would just have some clarity and a little transparency on that now, because people can make the best decisions that they can. But right now you're sort of shooting in the dark because you really don't know.
Well, because of what your original point was, it's taking so long.
That's right.
You're now in scrum style, so you don't have a lot of.
Yes.
You don't have a lot of wiggle room.
And they use ADM, and ADM stands for Average Daily Membership.
Yeah.
Average. That is when you take numbers and basically divide them by a certain number. You get they use 1 year of that instead of actually taking a true average. So if you do it every 4 years, why not take your ADM over a 4-year period, divide it by 4, and that is your true average daily membership. I mean, that's why I think going over a 2-year period would definitely.
You like the RPI thing?
I like the formula because I think it gives you a little bit of black and white exactly what it could be. I think I would play with it a little bit. I think winning percentage should have a little bit more than
like that's what I was saying, because you can't just say go to the football, whatever, and they're in the conference ain't real strong, and none of them teams really competing with anybody. Their winning percentage ain't good, and their opponent. See, sometimes it penalizes you if you play in a conference that ain't real strong.
Especially when you don't get to pick your.
Yeah, you don't get.
Exactly.
So I don't think they should penalize you in that style. I mean, I don't.
And I think there should be a little when you play upper class.
Yeah.
Because you listen, a 5-5 1A team and a 5-5 4A team. Well, we all will agree that the 5-5 4A team in football is much better than the 5-5 1A team, but the right now it would be valued the same in the RPI formula. Why not give a little up? If you play upper class, give you a little extra.
Well, see, that's what we did in basketball. So all our non-conference was 2A teams. So I thought maybe that would help out, but it really didn't because we didn't win.
Well, you want to play teams that are going to win games.
Yeah.
So you think in advance, and it's like, okay, well, we're going to schedule 2A teams or schedule up a class, which is what Coach did with basketball. But that's really not what impacts you. It's their winning percentage, their opponent's winning percentage, right? And then their opponent's winning percentage.
That's right.
And so it really comes down to just winning percentages. So the better thing to do, right, is to find some games you can win, get your percentages
and
up.
try to play teams
that they're going
to get some wins.
Yeah.
Or they play in a good league, right?
Right. I mean, because they're going to play against teams that are going to win.
Where that opponent's record.
Like a chess match. We got to figure out where the pieces are put together.
That's a lot.
You like how I use that chess match. I do a lot of different stuff.
You're on it.
Jack of all trades, master of none.
Master of zero.
Yeah. Except for shooting basketball. Coach has got that.
100%.
Got that. So taking that into consideration, though, I think one thing that we hit on earlier was doing like an RPI just straight across the board. It's an off-air conversation we were having.
That's another thing. I mean, now that I've started thinking, you got, like we were talking about before we went on the air.
Number 3 team.
Yeah, you got a team. I'm in a split league, and I finish, say I'm in a 1A, 2A, and I'm a 2A team, and I finish 3rd in that league.
Yeah.
Well, that's going to get me seated with the number 1, so I'm 35th in RPI, but now I get to move all the way up to an 11 seed to where, and this has happened in 2A basketball. In our conference, we've got right now number 2 and number 3 overall in RPI.
Yeah.
They've split with each other. One's going to be seated as the number 2 seed overall. The other one's going to be seated at 12 behind that team that's got a losing record, that finishes, plays in a week league, and I just don't think that's fair to that team that did it all year, but reward a team that played in a weak conference.
Yeah.
Well, you look at like the college model, right? that didn't matter. I mean, they had I think your conference champions got in, but I mean, once they seeded you out, right? They seeded you off a body of work, which is kind of what the RPI attempts to do for us.
Yes, I think that the college, they let the four highest rated conference champions get seeded. Well, we all college football fans, we know probably the SEC and the Big Ten are the best two. I think that's what was there at the end. But Boise and Arizona State got seeded early as 3 and 4, and they got to bye. But if you look, I think it was on the ESPN, I saw it yesterday, the day before, that the commissioners want to address that and fix that and allow them to get into the playoff, but don't give them the automatic bye just because they were a conference champion of a conference.
Yeah, I think it should go to that ranking system. I think it would be, again, it's hard to do that, and then, but it's hard to swallow that pill because, if you're looking at that. And that 3 seed's dropping out. That's just hard to handle there. So
it's not like I used to be. You were in the 1A, you knew you were gonna play Tar Road in the playoff. The first you were gonna match it that way. You just kind of knew ahead of time and stuff.
Yeah, and me,
but it's hard to do now.
And me, I'm the exact opposite. I wouldn't want that because I don't want to. So I think the beauty of it is having a true break instead of being is already predetermined breaks. I've never been a fan of that because. I get to play against a conference that's really good, and I won the conference. Their third place team or fourth place team is really good. It's just a tough draw.
Yeah. Well, good stuff, man.
Well, I need to give a little what's up to my wife. She got a birthday today.
Okay.
Not today, but it's this week, and I want to wish her a happy birthday.
Happy birthday!
And we do nice things like that. I like to congratulate like I said, the girls basketball team, the boys basketball team playing for the conference championship. Coach John. A little love in his first season out there.
We got some news. We just saw we were going to be closed tomorrow. Dubuque County schools are going to be closed. Just sent the message out.
All right, there's some good news for y'all young kids out there that watch this show. You can stay home tomorrow. And
by the time this, it's going to be like Back to the Future or something like that because this will be next week. But yeah, we're out of school tomorrow. So I hope you've enjoyed your Friday off.
And I hope you watched a lot of unscripted podcasts while you're sitting at home.
If not, we're going to see some great deductions. And while we're talking about grades, if you're an East Duplin Panther student, you have Mr. Joyner here as your PE teacher. You like and subscribe to this episode right here, this channel. Get you a free 100.
Well, we'll work on that.
Get you a free 100.
And I know another thing. Last week they had Coach Simmons here, Brandon here, and me and Coach both had on our East Carolina attire. And I'm an East Carolina man. I love the death. I love the death. But I got my Camel hat on this week because my son goes there. But I'm thinking Camel might beat East Carolina again in baseball this week. Beat them. I think he's going to have 3 hits. Hits. So I mean, I'm not running because I'm a Pirate man. But come on now.
The Bird's giving that school plenty of money in tuition. Okay. But every time he goes to visit my man Brady, he comes back with some Camel stuff. I said, Jeff, you already paying for his education. You don't have to supplement it by buying stuff out of the book.
I give both institutions a lot of money. East Carolina just won his high back then, but I give both institutions a lot of money. The Pirates fell to the Camels. It seems to happen all the time. We're not worried about it. They generally show up at our regional. We get to host, and they have to come see us. You're a Pirate man?
We'll see.
I'm a Pirate graduate. I ain't going to pull against them. I'm a Tar Heel man through
well, he's happy today to whoop. Hey, Tar Heels did lay a smack down on the whoop.
Blister is what it was.
That was embarrassing. I don't even think State went to the Final Four last year, and they didn't go make the ACC tournament. No, I don't think they're going to make. That's a big turnaround. That boy got that fat pocket. Did they give him a lot of bonuses? The coach bonuses last year?
Yeah, but I don't think they give him an extension, did they?
I'm not sure, but I don't follow the Wolfpack that much. I really don't.
I don't either. I know you do. I know you do. I know you do when it comes to Ken and them, because I know y'all and Santa Man, y'all just.
He don't really talk about Ken pulls for whoever's winning. Yeah. He's got about 10 or 12 of his favorite teams. Generally, they're in the SEC and football.
But if State would have won last night, you and Steve would have got a little test.
We would have got a little mess there.
And Skip.
That's exactly right. All 4 of us, no doubt.
Man, it's good to have you up here. Like I said, I've known you a long time. Coach has known you a long time.
I appreciate y'all having me. This is fun. Had a blast.
When we got to talking about this, we both knew we needed to get Coach Joyner on the show because he follows it so good. If you ever got questions, if you're out there, North Carolina high school coach anywhere really, if you got a question about some numbers, man, this guy's always on top of it. If you want to know your playoff predictions pretty soon, talk to him because he's on it. He can do some calculations, man, like nobody else. So, well, Coach Jordan, we appreciate your
Thank
time,
y'all so
man.
much. I appreciate it.
If y'all do us a favor, like and subscribe, and we'll see you next time.
Peace.